Today I wanted to talk to you about Mercury retrograde. And most of you are probably familiar with Mercury retrogrades. They happen about 3 times a year. That's when the planet Mercury appears to move backward in the sky. It isn't really moving backward, but that's the apparent motion of Mercury as from the viewpoint of the Earth. Mercury is the planet of communication, the mind, technology, transportation. The mind is incapable of existing in the present. It's always thinking in terms of the future or the past. So when a Mercury retrograde happens, it's the universe's way of telling us to slow down and pay attention and be present and be mindful of what you're doing. So really, we're recovering the territory that we've been in since the 1st until the 19th, 2 more times. So there's a period of going back and forth over the same issues and conversations and understanding them on a deeper level. And of course, this is the standard advice with Mercury retrograde, which is, especially right now, before Mercury does station retrograde, you've got a couple of days, it's the holidays. If you want to do your shopping, I would highly recommend you do it before the 19th, especially if you're buying any electronics or expensive items. Take it from personal advice and years of watching this happen. If you do it during the retrograde, you might have to do it again. And sometimes life happens, you have to do what you have to do. But where possible, I would advise you, if there's important letters you need to send out, contracts you need to sign, purchases, do it before the retrograde. But now let's talk about this specific retrograde cycle, which is one for the history books. We're not going to forget this anytime soon. There's a lot happening on the world stage, globally, no matter where in the world you live. There are developments unfolding politically that will have a ripple effect and will affect personal lives in some shape or form. This is because Mercury is a personal planet, so its effects are felt personally. But then it is in the sign of Capricorn, which is the sign of government, big businesses, corporations, and society. It represents structures. As Mercury goes retrograde, we're entering a period of restructuring and redefining our ideas and beliefs. Interestingly, Mercury stops short of just before making a conjunction to Pluto. Mercury stations retrograde. And this is intense. So the days surrounding the 19th of December, as well as around the 8th of January, pay attention to what comes up. You are learning important, especially right now on the 19th of January, you're learning important information that it feels almost like you learn something and it saves you from potentially making a fatal mistake. But now that you've caught it, you can go back and fix it. And it's never too late to turn something around. When it comes to your communication, yes, double check all your communication, but really in Capricorn, what we're being asked to do is to move past our conditioning, depending on where you grew up, your parents, the society you grew up in, what you were taught. Capricorn is the sign of tradition. So these are beliefs that have been handed down to you, and you have them either consciously or unconsciously. And they color your world. Your perceptions color your world. So we're really being asked to dismantle old perceptions and move beyond our conditioning of how you think the world is, should be, or relationships are, should be, or they work. At the time of Mercury's retrograde, interestingly, the Sun will is occupying the degrees that Mercury was at when it first entered shadow on the 1st of December. So there's a clear sense now that, hindsight is 2020, but you're suddenly seeing something and seeing it in a new light. And that's asking you to question what you think you know about something. And telling you that there's a lot more to learn in a situation. And the more flexible you are and open to learning, the more you're going to be able to see the possibilities. The more fixed you are in your ideas and opinions, the more confusing this time could be, or even emotional if things don't work out the way you planned. Also, I would suggest you not judge anything that's happening too prematurely, because a lot is changing, and as I mentioned, I'll get into some of the aspects that are happening at the end of the year later. But a lot is changing, and it's important now that you don't limit yourself. You don't argue for your own limitations. More things are possible now than at most other times. I mean, we have a Jupiter Uranus opposition coming up on the 26th of December, the day after Christmas. And before that, Venus trines Jupiter, makes sextiles to Saturn and Uranus. And this is all soon after Mercury's retrograde station. Of course, well, also on the day of Mercury's retrograde station, Mars enters Pisces. So the energy is shifting. There's going to be huge breakthroughs and huge developments unfolding towards the end of the year. With a little effort, you could really, really reach a breakthrough that you never dared imagine possible. So it's important now that you move with an open mind, but also have a level of discernment. Uh, and remember all the lessons you've learned when it comes to your relationships and how you communicate, whether they're personal relationships, business relationships. Remember, everything is negotiable now. Everything is negotiable, but you have to be able to think win-win and be fair. Something that you thought was impossible isn't. And there's more to someone or something than you first imagined. But you have to be willing to explore it and dig deeper. Dig deeper beyond your own perceptions. We're entering a whole new world. By the end of the year, we're moving into a new moon in Capricorn. Take the time now to reflect on what you want to accomplish in the coming year, or what in your life needs to change. And that can only happen when you acknowledge what already is. Then you can find the power to change it. If you're in denial of what needs to change, nothing's going to change. So a retrograde is always a time to check in with yourself and ask yourself if you're being honest with yourself and if your actions match your words. And same goes for the other people in your life. If you're in doubt about a situation, then it would be helpful, especially during this retrograde with Mars and Pisces moving near Neptune and other aspects. It would be helpful. It's really important for you to now ask yourself if the relationships in your life are serving you well, if they are equal, if there's mutual respect, if you're able to communicate with another, and if not, then I'm not saying you need to let go of anyone or let go of anything that you don't want to, but it's important that you not at least cling to things. Ask yourself, if you say you want something, then are your actions matching your words? And same goes for others. Actions speak louder than words. So pay attention to what someone is doing rather than just saying. And there are major developments coming up at the end of the year. So these are, and it may be hard to wrap your head around some of them, but that's exactly why you're being asked now to let go of your perceptions. Then you can start to unearth a deeper reality. Also, I want to do a quick run through all the signs so you know where this is playing out for you. For Aries, the retrograde is taking place in your 10th house. So, got to do with your career, your profession, your public image. The important thing for you to know is you don't need to keep up pretenses. You can only be yourself. And right now, the aspects are really pushing you to be yourself. So, be honest with yourself. Be honest about how your goals have changed, what you want for the future, what you've outgrown, and reorient yourself. Pay attention to your dreams and be in no denial of them. Something is more possible than you think it is, but you have to be willing to believe that dream, or rather believe in yourself enough to be able to manifest it. And there may be a professional opportunity that you thought perhaps was not going to work out, but it comes back. These could be some of the ways that it plays out. There's no mountain you can't climb. You just have to make sure you're climbing a mountain that you want to climb and not, chasing success by anyone else's definition. You've got to define that for yourself. and also acknowledge how it's changed over the years. For Taurus, this retrograde takes place in your ninth house. This relates with your spirituality, your religious beliefs, your cultural beliefs. Um, it may even relate with travel and immigration and legal matters. The world is changing, and you're learning to find your power in it and your voice in it. To keep your perspective on all that's unfolding. The more you can keep an open mind, you will learn what you need to know. Keep your long term goals in mind. And for the rest, all that's not in your control, again, the ninth house being the sign of God and spirituality, there's an element of having to surrender to a higher power and trust. You will learn what you need to know when it's time. Gemini, uh, Mercury is your ruler, so this is extremely personal for you. And Mercury stations retrograde in your eighth house. Your eighth house relates with other people's money, so your business partnerships as well as your inheritances, perhaps a marriage, or any relationships where you have sex and money involved. It's also bloodlines. And ask yourself, what does a marriage mean to you? What do you value in your relationships? Financially, emotionally, what brings you a sense of security? There's something that you're feeling very powerless in. But it's important for you to know, especially now that there's been a recent full moon in your sign and this is Mercury, your ruler. You are not powerless in a situation. You have more power than you think, and you actually have a lot of support as well. But pay attention to your own desire to want to control something or control an outcome, and as well as your own attachments to something or someone. The more you can let go of trying to control others or anything else, you can find your own power in a situation and recognize that you have a power of choosing where you invest your energy. It's important that you consciously dig past your parents' values around money, sex, and marriage. Then you can start to see what you value most and how you can align with others who share your values. It's a process of reclaiming power, but to reclaim that power, you've got to make sure you know what your hooks are. Because no one or nothing can have power over you unless you give it to them. Cancer, this retrograde happens in your relationship zone, all your one-to-one relationships. Uh, and really, it's all about communication. How you communicate, what you say, how you say it. And you may be reconnecting with people from your past right now. There may be people from the past coming back into your life. Or you have the chance now to resolve an old misunderstanding, or you're getting to see a different side to someone. You're seeing another side to a story. And it's important now that you keep, no matter what is unfolding, it's important that you keep your channels of communication open. Because you're learning the underlying layers of the situation, and then you can make wise choices. This is storm brewing, everyone's feeling it, and it's almost as if you're in the eye of the storm right now. So when you need to, it's important that you put yourself first, check in with how you're feeling, and take the time to take care of your needs before you rush off to help other people. Everything is negotiable. It's just a matter of now communicating honestly and moving past the niceties and the social interactions to really get real with someone about what you need and what you want and how you feel. Leo, uh, this takes place in your sixth house. Sixth house relates with your work, your health, your daily life, your sense of purpose, really. Everything else going on, that you prioritize your life, starting with your health, physical, mental, emotional, on all levels. You can fix something. There's something in your life, maybe a work issue or a life issue that's taken a lot out of you, and you're reaching a turning point, or rather, you're reaching a breakthrough. But rather than having to deal with things breaking down or experiencing a meltdown, it'll be easier for you to bring about the change you need if you acknowledge the things that you need to change. Maybe something coming up around work right now. or something that affects your life. And this is likely something that you've been dealing with for a while now, whether it's a health issue or a work issue. But there is potential now, as Mercury moves retrograde, for you to really understand the root cause of something and fix it from the source, so that you can really change something and not just put a band-aid on it. Uh, Pay attention. It's important you prioritize now. There's a lot going on, and you don't want to be running around in circles. So, starting with your health, make sure you're getting the rest you need. If there are health issues arising, make sure you get yourself checked out, do what you need to do. You have to take care of yourself first. Without that, nothing's going to work. Also, when it comes to your lifestyle and the work that you're doing, ask yourself, does it fulfill you? Is it meaningful? Is it something that rewards you deeply on a daily basis? You don't need to compare yourself to others. A life well lived is by your definition. And it's important now you dig deeper to ask yourself what brings you the most meaning in your life. Also, be honest with yourself about any habits or lifestyle changes that you need to make that do not add to your quality of life. Also, very importantly, that you have to find that work-life balance. You can't just work yourself to the bone. Uh, you have to be able to enjoy the life that you're creating for yourself as much as you're able to serve and give back to the world. Virgo. So this Mercury is your ruling planet as well. And the retrograde in Capricorn, that takes place in your fifth house. And your fifth house rules children, your creativity, your innermost self. And really, this is a process of going deeper into your own heart and being honest with yourself about your desires and about who you are at your core. Creatively, there might be, and then giving yourself permission to be that. The fifth house also relates with love. So when it comes to love and sex, especially, there's nothing wrong with either or both. It's just about being honest about what you want and where you're at in your life today. You've grown, you've changed. You're not the same person you were a month ago, let alone a year ago. So it's being honest with yourself about who you are today and how you've changed and what you want out of your life. And then recognize that you are creating your life in every single moment. This is a very fifth house quality. So especially right now, when so much is changing in the world, you have the chance to plant seeds for something that will really grow and bloom and flourish. But what matters the most now is that you're being authentic and you're being true to yourself and you give yourself permission to be yourself and not worry about whether you'll be liked or loved or appreciated, because the truth is you can only be you. So this retrograde. Yes, it could be a very creative time for you. It could be time when you're spending time with your children, but really it's about reconnecting with your inner child and with yourself and making choices from the heart, communicating from the heart. So for Libra, this takes place in your fourth house, the retrograde. Your fourth house relates with your home, your physical house, as well as your family, your father, the past, your childhood. So this really is a trip down memory lane for you. On a very mundane level, you might be renegotiating a domestic arrangement or perhaps buying or selling property. If there are contracts to sign, do it before or after. But a lot is changing on the home front. When it comes to your family, you might learn something now about your family or from your family about the past that sheds a whole new light on the past, recent events as well as the distant past. And as you begin to see the past in a new light, there's a chance for you to really redefine your life and from the ground up and understand the past in a new light, allowing you to change, perhaps even rewrite history in a way, but definitely change the course of the future. It's a good time for you to examine your father's beliefs as well as childhood beliefs or ideas that were instilled in you as a child, moving past these limitations now, given how the world has changed. So really your perceptions right now are what you're digging past. The more you can get to the root source of something, you can uproot an idea or something that has been a mental block for you, which has prevented you from moving forward in your life in some way, allowing you to just really uproot it and, you know, make progress. This is a very introspective phase for you, and you ask yourself what you want to build, the foundations you want to build your life on. Scorpio. So for you, this transit takes place in your third house, and the third house is traditionally ruled by Mercury. So for you, this is everything that I said about the retrograde is doubly true. Um, you're learning information now that causes you to stop and think and question what you think you know about a situation or a person. And you're learning information showing you that there's a lot more for you to learn. Be open minded. This is a process of consciously digging past your perceptions and beliefs of what you think is possible, as well as how you think things are, and especially your ideas and beliefs and opinions surrounding Capricorn matters, which is success and authority and how the world works. Your perceptions color your world. And a lot of these are unconscious. But as you begin to examine them and question them and consciously let go of them, you can start to see reality as it is. In all communication, it's a good time to keep your channels of communication open. If there have been misunderstandings, you could be understanding something in a whole new light now. You might hear from people from your past, and it might be a good time for you to reconnect with people from your past if there are things left unsaid, or even in terms of business and work, there may be doors that were previously closed but that are opening up now, and you might want to re-explore something because it holds a lot more potential than you think or you first thought. And yeah, something you thought was impossible really isn't. It's a matter of you changing the way you see things. And then you can make conscious choices rather than just acting unconsciously or choosing unconsciously. And really, for you, this is a very creative period at the end of the year. It's an extremely creative period for you, Scorpio, as well as even emotionally in terms of love. You've got so much more to you, and there's so much more you have to express and that you want to express. But ask yourself what holds you back. You don't need to worry about being loved or liked or even appreciated. This is more of an outpouring of you. So let go of the perceptions in your own head that prevent you from sharing from the heart. More, it's about you getting out of your head so that you can really start to understand the potential in what is in front of you right now and really within you. So, Sagittarius, for you, this retrograde takes place in your second house, and your second house relates with your values, who and what you value. It also relates with money, which is your income and your possessions. And with Mercury, Mercury is also the ruler of your opposite signs. You learn something now, which is truly asking you to reevaluate your relationships and your commitments. Not that there's anything wrong, but you've changed a lot over the past years. And it's important now that you dig deep. You dig deep to ask yourself who and what you value and why. Security for security's sake does not work. And you can't force someone to love you or be with you. You can only be yourself and offer your best. Success is the fruit of your labor. And as a Sagittarian, few people have as strong a work ethic as you do. So it's, especially when it comes to your money and business relationships, it's understanding the value of what you bring to the table, that you can renegotiate arrangements now so they offer you more of the security you need and are equal and balanced, and you get what you really deserve out of them. This is true for your personal relationships as well. You don't It's important now that you reevaluate important commitments and what security means to you and what commitment means to you. Sagittarians don't commit easily or are not known to commit easily. They love their freedom. It is the sign that rules freedom. But the thing with Sagittarius is that when they do commit, they're some of the most loyal partners you can have, and they're extremely committed and dedicated and devoted, even as partners. But and that's why you probably take a while. And there may be commitments in your life now that you are evaluating, reevaluating. Uh, if if this is a new relationship, if you meet someone during the retrograde, I would always suggest wait till Mercury is direct to really see where things stand. But for the connections that you already have in your life and have established before Mercury stations retrograde, there can be a deepening of bonds, but it, it's important now that you push past your conditioning of what a relationship is, looks like, what the values you grew up with, and how your values are different. And it's important that you move past the external, superficial stuff that surrounds relationships or what defines a relationship, and really get to the heart of someone. As you get to know people, you can align with those who share your values. But it's important that you don't judge things on the surface right now, because there is something in your life, a relationship or a situation or even an idea that you have right now that's really golden. But you have to see the beauty in it. You have to see the value in it. It takes a special eye to recognize a diamond, you know. You can only be yourself, and the more you can free yourself to do that, you can attract the right people and the right situations to you. It's about freedom. It's about who accepts you for who you are, loves you for who you are, and who you are deep down at the core, not what you look like or how much money you have in the bank or how young or old you are. Value yourself, and you'll recognize who values you. Capricorn. So this Mercury retrograde takes place in your first house, so it's all about yourself. And you, Capricorn, have been on quite a journey. Saturn, your ruler, has been in your 12th house for the past couple of years, year and a half. And it's been a lot of having to find your way through the door. The last couple of months especially have been quite challenging, I know, for Capricorns. I have a lot of Capricorn friends. And now this is a process of re-identification, asking yourself the eternal question, who am I? And not being in a hurry to define that and letting that answer arise. You're moving up on a new moon at the end of the month, on the 29th, and as Mercury stations retrograde on the 19th, you learn something about yourself that sends you on a deeper introspective journey of asking yourself these questions. It's important now that you're extremely honest with yourself into this process of introspection and personal rediscovery very consciously. You are changing as we speak. So it's important now that you really go inward and get back in touch with a core part of yourself, a core unchanging part of yourself, and realign with that. As you do, then you can move forward and make conscious choices that allow you to, or rather that allow you to create a life an external life that reflects your inner life. Aquarius. So Aquarius, for you, this retrograde takes place in your 12th house, and the 12th house relates with your dreams, your subconscious, everything that's hidden and out of sight, behind closed doors. So including pleasures of the bed, quote unquote. With Mercury moving through your 12th house, there's a sense that there's information that you're either waiting for or that you're not privy to. It's important that you realize you don't have all the information right now. There's a lot happening behind the scenes, and this does not mean you need to get paranoid, but that you stay aware of that. Also, listen to your intuition and pay attention to your dreams. They're trying to tell you something. When in doubt, it's always better to ask than to assume, because things are not exactly how you seem, and something that you think is not possible actually really is possible. And you could there could be some really pleasant surprises coming up for you. But really, you have to be open to receive, and you have to have faith in a vision that is forming within you now. It's a soul vision, and there is a way forward. And something you thought was impossible is not, but you're going to have to explore it. Also, it's important that you become conscious of your subconscious ideas about the way the world works, success, failure, and it may even be that you have some information that you're not fully ready to reveal yet. And that's okay. But we're only as sick as our secrets. And it's important that you at least are transparent with people on a need to know basis. People are not mind readers. And if you want to deepen your connections, especially, then it's important that you let someone in. Any information that you don't have right now, you will in due time. Just for now, trust that you know what you need to know, and more will be revealed to you in time. And finally, we come to Pisces. So Pisces, Mercury stations retrograde in your 11th house, which relates with your friends, your community, your hopes, dreams, and wishes. And Mercury is also the ruler of your opposite sign, so your friendships are definitely highlighted, as well as a social situation. A few ways that it could play out is you might be reconnecting with friends from your past, uh, and your social circle too is expanding, but especially when it comes to new friends or people you're meeting during a retrograde. Again, it doesn't mean that none of this will pan out, but it's always wise to get to know someone before you give away or sign away your life. Uh, so be wise about the company you keep and avoid comparing yourself to others either. This is not about anybody else. Ultimately, this is about you and what you want out of your life, and more importantly, what you have to share with your community. So the more you can inspire others with your vision, you can gather the support you need. And remember, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. So when it comes to any friendships, yet again, the more you're willing to let go of past, you can evolve from something and you can move past something. And of course, this has to go both ways. But ultimately, forgiveness is an inside job, and you do it not for the other person but for yourself, so you don't have to carry that emotion. But for this Mercury retrograde, but as I mentioned, I just wanted to touch base on what's happening over the next 2 weeks as we enter this new year, 2017, and more about that soon. Uh, it's a very busy sky, especially starting from just about before Christmas to the end of the year. 24th, Saturn trines Uranus. 25th, Venus makes aspects to Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. 26th, Jupiter opposes Uranus. 27th, I'm not sure what's happening, but 28th, I know the Sun conjuncts Mercury. And then on the 29th, we have Capricorn new moon and Uranus stations direct. All of this means that there's a lot of energy. There are huge unpredictable developments unfolding, not least that will come up with the Mercury retrograde. But as much as there's a lot that's out of your control, there is real hope here. And you can't wait for the world to change. You've got to do your bit in spreading kindness and compassion and joy and sharing. And with Venus trine Jupiter on Christmas Day, no matter what festival you're celebrating, or even if you're not, this is the true spirit of the season. And this is the spirit that we need in our hearts all the time. It does look to be a rather festive time in spite of everything that's going on in the world, and there's sure to be huge developments on the global stage, as I mentioned earlier, but all the more reason for all that's out of our control, what is within our control is to share the love we feel and share kindness with everyone that we meet and not expecting anything in return. We just need to love our neighbors if everybody loved their neighbor, there would be no need to save the world. So, at least for a moment, in spite of all the craziness in the world, there is that moment of being able to be grateful for everything you have, and take that moment and share that. Be grateful for everything you have and recognize there are so many who have so much less than you or me. And give. It is in giving that we'll receive. That's always true and never been more true now. So that's all I want to say to you guys for now. I wish you a very, very, very happy holiday season and best wishes for the new year. And I will be back again soon. Ta-da for now.